health, good luck, energy, relationships. 4% words that can be described in this trip. Thank you, Denmark. So originally we planned this trip for 1-2 years ago, but guess what cancelled our trip? Yeah, exactly. But we later finally could travel to the country, and oh boy, it was so worth it. Even though all the disadvantages we had, it was really worth it. Although we took a car from Sweden to Copenhagen, Denmark. And this was the worst part of it. The Danes are demons, the worst nightmare for Swedes. And their language, I feel terrified. I'm in hell, help me, save me from Denmark. When flying to Japan, we had to stop over at Amsterdam first. We had to fly the Dutch airlines the entire way. I don't know any jokes I can make about the Dutch. Well, maybe except this. But we quickly say goodbye to Copenhagen and Amsterdam, and then we fly to Tokyo, the most popular city in the world as we speak.
What movies do you find?
Minions.
This was the first time sitting on a big plane. It was the first time I was outside Europe, and the first time to fly this long, and it was 14 hours. Was it fun? No. I could barely sleep. There were constant loud noises from the plane. The seats were bad, and the flying even went so great. When the plane had turbulence, it shook my stomach so much it made me get rainbows out of the mouth. Luckily I ran to the toilet in time. But I blame Denmark for this. When arriving at the Tokyo airport, I was so tired. I just wanted to leave the airport and move on. But I knew they would have checked for corona and where I was going. Explaining this website will take at least a minute, but in short, apparently I, Sorovia, and my parents forgot something, so we had to fill in papers. We later then finally got to the bus driving us to the hotel, and I could for the first time see Japan with my own eyes. I should also mention that we are traveling with a travel company, with a guide. It was both a blessing and a curse at the same time, but it wasn't my idea, it was my parents that wanted that, but I will talk more about that later. We later arrived at the hotel, leaving our luggage, I don't really know how to say the word, but yeah. We were so tired after the trip, but we had to stay awake since we had to adapt to the time zone. We immediately left the hotel and started our tour. I was so tired, so it felt exhausting, but we got to the metro, and this was one of the best thing about it. We got a card where we could literally travel the entirety of Japan with no problem. It was a big plus. It made things so much easier for us. But we quickly went to eat, and I must say the first food we ate was the most delicious one I ate in the entire trip. And the reason for that is probably because I got a cold and I lost a taste in my mouth and got a disgusting one instead. Well, I just had to deal with it, although the food was still great. We went to a park, which I have no idea which one because there are so many of them. And I have tried looking for it, but it was pretty. We didn't do that much in that short time, other than that just going to a cafe and finding this birdie. After all this, we took the metro back to the hotel. I didn't film or take any pictures after this, but we took a break at the hotel and ate dinner and went to sleep. Japanese breakfast was something else. They had rice with chicken curry, fish and more fish, miso soup for breakfast, alright, beans, tofu, salad. Is this the definition of breakfast in Japan? Well, okay then. To clarify, there's nothing wrong with this, it's just more of a cultural thing. But this is a massive cultural difference compared to other countries. Like looking at Chinese and Indian breakfast as an example. You can look at this and be like, yeah, this is breakfast. Now look at this. If you have no knowledge of the Japanese culture, you will never even think about this is breakfast. If I were to tell someone I ate chicken with rice and curry, tofu and beans and or any of these things, they would immediately think that they ate lunch or even dinner, not breakfast. They also had rolled eggs, matcha, tea and rice porridge, which you could say it's breakfasty. But we quickly moved on and traveled in Japan, and I can say election day in Japan is interesting because making political advertising is in quote unquote illegal. So what they do is people drive around these cars with megaphones to promote their campaigns. Oh yeah, there was a big fish market that doesn't exist anymore. For some reason the guy took a say, even though it is going to be rebuilt in the future. Some of it still exists, but it kind of felt quite unnecessary, to be honest. This park is called Hamarikyu Garden, also known as Shogun Park. It's an authentic Japanese park which have no influence from any foreign country. It is very pretty place to visit if you're into the stuff like nature and bees. I'm on a boat, Zoro is on a boat, we're on a boat. It is boating time. I'm not going to make that joke again. Why do you have the Statue of Liberty, Japan? Fish! Here's Gundam. Here are some pictures and videos on the SkyTrain. Oh yeah, by the way, the Emperor Castle is pointless because you can barely see it anyway. It is nothing real to was seen unless you want to risk getting arrested, although not really recommended. Japanese TV is something else, isn't it? Remember the joke I made at the beginning? Yep, it was the opposite for me. I got sick and I had to stay in the hotel. So my parents took my camera and took some photos from the National Museum I wanted to visit. I couldn't since I was sick, but for some reason in the museum you were not allowed to take pictures of certain objects. You may ask, was it the corona? Very unlikely since I got very sick from it months before the trip. And then I mean like really sick. But I gathered my strength while resting and went to Akihabara with only Zoro. And oh boy, this place is what the people on the internet stereotypically think of Japan. Yes, video games, anime and manga. It was really fun and interesting to be here. We went inside one of the arcades, seeing people playing on them. We didn't play by ourselves. The main reason is I was sick and it felt like the entire time I was there in the arcade was a fever dream. So yeah, but my entire body felt sick the whole time I was there, but I kept going because I really wanted to be there. We went inside where they have crane games. We didn't play any, but I went to a capsule thing and got a lizard. Yeah, as stereotypically with the vending machines, there are a lot of these places. Not as many as vending machines, but there are many. And now we are all waiting for it. The manga and the video game stores. This felt like a dream in a way, also a bit of a nostalgia, since in Sweden video game store almost don't exist anymore. Now almost everything gets downloaded digitally, but in Japan these things are still going strong here. I saw everything from gaming, anime and manga. I really wanted to buy something here, but I ended up with nothing. The main reason is that even though I really like the stuff and many franchises, I simply not a big enough fan to have a collection of this. I was really thinking about it, but it just never happened. I felt regret that I should have bought something, which I did, but those things were more generic, would I say. Although I expect many of you people to visit Japan for one of these main reasons, and I say then this place is a must. This is a place you just can't really ignore. It is the perfect place. Of course, you can still just ignore it, but I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Anyway, guess what they're selling in this store? Yeah, that is right. It is hentai. and my camera died. Nice. Well, I was still sick and felt exhausted after Hakkabara, so I just stayed in the hotel room again, but this time on a different one, and charging my camera.
Japanese TV is very interesting.
But later, my parents showed me some Japanese wine. It is so great. It is called Osaka Muscat Barley Aged Old Maceration. Oh wow! Japanese English is something completely different. This is not one example. There are a lot of spelling errors, but sadly I didn't take any more pictures of it. But there are countless of examples. The next morning we ate breakfast at the new hotel we were in, and I saw there was a church inside the hotel. Because here's a funny thing though. People commonly marry in a hotel, and the Christian way. The Christian way is the most popular one, even though it is a Buddhist Shinto dominated country. And the reason for that is just basically because it is more fun. Yeah, that's basically the reason. It is more fun. Speaking of religion and tradition, we also visited a Shinto temple. We looked around and took some photos. Shortly after we went inside a Japanese knife store, we bought some and then later got arrested. No, seriously, Sorry bought one for his mom. And you know, this is kitchen knives, not, you know, weapons. After this we went to a big shopping center, and for some reason I barely took any pictures here. But if you have seen this crab in Japan, then you know where we were. We also found this Pokemon shop. We thought of buying something, but the line was so long that it wasn't worth it. Although it was funny to see the staff have a Pikachu hats. After that it was quite short. A lot actually happened, but I think it was just because I was sick, like I didn't really bother that much. But the next day we went to Hiroshima. Finally I could film it, instead my camera battery died in the middle of it. Yeah, when we arrived in Hiroshima, I think it is one thing we all know about the city, and that can't be ignored. That is of course the nuclear bomb, or also known as the A-bomb, that was dropped by the US Army. Yeah, this is a little bit controversial, regardless of your opinion of the use of the weapon during World War II. I think we can all agree it should never be used again in a war. And you will wish it was never used again, trust me. This building was the only one left after the bomb dropped, to be kept as an example of the bomb. And here is exactly where the bomb has been dropped. They had a flame which only were going to be turned off if there was not a single A-bomb left in the world. And they had a clock when the last atomic bomb was tested, and you can guess who did that. But if you unironically think it will ever be justified to be used again in any kind of way, I have to tell you then sorry, you are completely delusional. And this guy will be your new best friend. Unless it is a giant asteroid that has been blown up or pushed away to save the planet, then that's another thing. But besides the point, hundreds of thousands of people got severely affected by just a single bomb. I am not going to talk much about it, since I recommend you visit the museum itself or watch some documentaries about it. And I will end up this with a message from the museum itself. After that we went on a boat to an island. In the past, this island was completely forbidden to visit for anyone, because it was considered holy. But now anyone can get on the island, and tourists like us alike. But as you may already notice, it is raining a lot this day. I didn't mind it that much, except my shoes got wet. But Sora is a complete psychopath and decided to not have any rain protection despite the risk of becoming sick. Although the island was interesting, it was just a bit annoying. We could only be there for 1 hour because of this annoying travel company. Again, not my idea, and something I wouldn't do. I bought one souvenir here since I thought the color of this Eastern dragon looked cool, and took some pictures of the Shinto shrine and architecture, which we didn't have so much time to see, but one thing to say is that there are animals living here peacefully among humans. That is because they never really had any real danger, because humans couldn't come there for a while. Which then they have just kind of just been there all the time, minding their own business. While taking the boat back and then before the bullet train back to the hotel, I saw something horrible, the most evil thing you can see. It is fucking Denmark. You did this to me. I knew it. Jäkla dansk jävla. The next morning, last day before we went home, we went to Kyushu. Yeah. There was a marketplace there and a nice view of the city. And again, not that many pictures. We then took a taxi to the store called Hardov, so I bought something. And then later, very close by was a video game store selling all kind of games. And also books and CDs and DVDs. And in that store I finally found my waifu. Please don't touch her, she's all mine. It took more than an hour for us to walk the entire way back to the hotel, and after that we ate our last dinner in Japan and traveled back home the next day. I want to mention that I barely took any pictures of the food. I have no idea why I didn't, and more pictures in general, but I blamed on I was sick most of the trip, so I didn't have the energy or think about it so much. Now the trip is basically done. You may ask, was it worth it? I will say definitely. If you have the money, yeah, that is the most important part. It costs a lot of money to go there. If you really think it will be worth it, then start saving money. Or you are rich watching this video and so it doesn't really matter for you. But if you decide to go, it will be a very unique experience and I would like to go there again one day. I will not talk about why you should visit Japan because that deserves a video to itself. And there are a lot of people that have done that better than me already. So I end this off with eating chocolate chips I bought. I will taste it and rate it.
It's very interesting, Japan. You have some interesting taste, I would say.
7 of 10.